The goal of this video is to help you prepare for and begin your explication essay. Before we begin, take a moment to set one positive intention for this week for class. Write it down and post it somewhere you'll see it often so that you can check in with it. Feel free to send me your intention. It's another way of being accountable for it and working toward it and having support from someone else in accomplishing it. This first exercise in the PowerPoint is a scavenger hunt to practice finding poetic elements in poetry so that you can then apply those terms in your paper. This is not a required assignment, but it's something I would usually do in an in-person class together as a group. So you might want to give it a try. You'll see that below each poem title from our packet, there is a poetic element. You can mark it in your packet and then either write down what you find or send me screenshots of your answers if you'd like me to check what you found. Before we get into the specifics of the assignment, I wanted to briefly talk about how mindfulness can help you when reading poetry and in your explication process. One thing you can do to help yourself better understand the poems is to center yourself and apply the mindfulness techniques and skills you've been working on this semester to your reading. Before you begin, take a moment to center yourself. You might take 3 deep breaths. You might meditate for a moment, do a stretch, think of something you're grateful for. Something to clear your mind of the cycle of thoughts that might be running through it so that you can focus on the poem. Secondly, focus on one line of the poem at a time. Build slowly, one by one, so you can build meaning as you go. Throughout the poem, take your time to stop and reflect, especially between stanzas, between sections. Just making sure you understand how the poem is progressing. Overall, take your time. You don't have to rush this. In fact, the more slowly you go, probably the more you'll get out of your reading and your explication. And then you'll actually probably save time in the long run by taking your time as you read through it and annotate. You might also create a focus check-in, so our brains oftentimes will get off track and we'll have another thought that takes us away from what we're trying to focus on. If you set a little alarm or you put a picture on your wall that reminds you to focus, you can do a lot of different things, but sometimes I like to set a little alarm on my phone, like a nice chime sound. And when I hear it, it's my call to awakening to remember to focus on what I'm doing, clear my head of thoughts that aren't serving me, and be in the moment with what I'm doing. This is a thesis brainstorming exercise. In case you're a little bit stuck, here are 3 steps to get you started with your thesis statement for this paper, which you will turn into me. The first thing is to choose your poem. Pick the one that you're most connected to, that you understand the best, that you want to write about, the one that you feel like you have the most to say. Secondly, review the poem and your annotations and any notes. If you don't have annotations and notes, then read it and do that so that you can look those over. And then send me an email with the poem that you chose, the meaning that the poem has, and any questions that you have about the poem. That way we can start a dialogue about what the poem means as you are brainstorming for your thesis statement and how you're going to focus it for your paper. There are 2 main parts to the thesis. The first is identifying the author and title of the poem. Remember that the poem title will go in quotation marks. And then the second part is the meaning of the poem. And that's it. So your thesis should include the name of the author, the title of the poem, and the poem's meaning. Make it one sentence that includes those things, and then your thesis will be ready for my review. After you're done your thesis, you can start thinking about your outline. This will be the next step in the process. And one way to get there is practicing the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. So you can make a list of these for the poem and think through each question. This will help you to develop some content and understanding around the meaning and the purpose of the poem, as well as all of its context, which is also important. Another strategy you can use to brainstorm for your outline is to annotate your annotations. So you've already annotated the poem. Go back through with a different color marker, a different highlighter, a different color pen, stickers, whatever you want to do, and mark the places, especially the lines, that you think you might want to pull out and put in your paper. You also want to think about the organization of the poem and the organization of your paper. Will you organize it by poetic elements within the poem, or will you organize it by chronology in terms of how the poem builds from start to finish? You want to pick the one that seems easiest to you and makes the most sense for your poem. I'm happy to talk to you about that if you have questions. In past semesters, when we've done this, people have written about all kinds of elements within these papers. And there's 2 elements that I think are pretty easy to write about that people sometimes look past. So I want to just put these on your radar. They're theme and imagery. Theme, as you know, we've worked on a lot so far this semester. It creates this tone, there's sub-meanings underneath of it. It's something that most people can connect to. So you might look at themes in the poem that play into the meaning in your thesis. And then secondly, imagery. How do sensory things come up in the poem to create a feeling or paint a picture within the poem to contribute to that meaning that you're talking about in your thesis statement? The outline is going to have 3 main parts. You're going to have your thesis statement, an organizational structure, so that should be apparent throughout the outline, and then also the support that you want to include in terms of quotations and ideas from the poem. Here's an example of a thesis with an outline organized by poetic elements. So up here at the top, I have the thesis statement, I have the title and the author, and then I have the meaning of the poem. You'll see indented to the left here, I have themes and imagery. So these are the 2 elements that I'm going to talk about. You might even choose a 3rd element if you feel like you're going to need more length. And then beneath each of these elements, I've listed something. So under themes, I listed 3 themes that play into this meaning up here. And then under imagery, I've listed 3 separate sections of the poem where it's some kind of sensory image that contributes to this meaning up here in the thesis. And I think that's where we sometimes get confused. We think imagery and we put down any image from the poem, but you have to make sure that the imagery and the themes or whatever you're including down here is directly connected to the thesis statement so that you're not losing focus on that overall meaning. All right, so here's a blank screen. After you do the outline, then the next step for the next week would be the draft. And following that week, you'll write the final draft. I'll be giving you feedback along the way. So if you have questions, let me know. But I wish you the best of luck, and I wish you just enjoyment through this process. Explicating and writing about a poem, the act of doing that actually deepens your understanding of the poem so much and builds a deeper connection to it. And I hope that you feel that and that it feels good.